Dude, it's incredible. Hunting is an incredible opportunity for people to connect more with their care about what goes into their bodies for the people that they love, and it couldn't be more misunderstood. And I feel like it's like a goal in my life right now to just breathe life into hunting for people to just stop misunderstanding it, stop associating it with murdering, and start associating it with people that care about where their food comes from and they care about the animals they pursue, because that's the truth.
Welcome to the Fowl Front Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where our goal is to recruit and educate new hunters while entertaining the rest of you. Without new hunters and the mentorship of those more seasoned, this passion as we know it faces an uncertain future. So get the word out, turn the volume up, and enjoy the show, because you're on the Fowl Front. All right, today we've got a very special guest on with AJ Nesty, who is a photographer and surfer / turned hunter, and I guess the principal unique value that he's bringing to the podcast is that he has only eaten game meat for the last 10 years. How you doing, AJ?
Dude, I'm doing great, bro. And I appreciate that generous title of surfer. If you watch me surf, you wouldn't give me that title. But I'll take it, man.
Awesome. I should have said maybe surf photographer, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love surfing, and whenever I get the chance to get back out in the water, I do. I love longboarding probably because it's a bit easier, but yeah, man, that's what got me into surf photography, is just my love for surfing and the ocean and stuff, and then just documenting my friends.
Awesome.
Got me into surf photography.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a big ocean guy. I'm from Nebraska. And the ocean's kind of a terrifying place for me. There's prehistoric creatures that live in that thing. You know that, right?
We live pretty close to the shark attack capital of the world here in Florida, and I think once you see a lot of sharks, you kind of tend to, it's almost like when you go into woods and you see rattlesnakes or water moccasins. Those reptiles, man, they're misunderstood, and sharks are too. Now, I'm not saying that, snakes don't bite and sharks don't attack. I mean, it happens, but mostly it's just mistaken identity, or just kind of, as far as snakes go, trying to protect it.
Sure.
But, yeah, man, it's, we definitely have a lot of sharks swimming around here, that's for sure. But, and sometimes you'll just see you just get this feeling like you don't see anything, but you just put your hands up in the air because you're like, something's underneath me. But most of the time it's probably not. You just try to, freak yourself out. But the only thing to calm you down from worrying about sharks is when a set starts coming in, you just start paddling with your buddies and you forget all about it.
Oh man, that kind of makes my hands a little sweaty just thinking about, there's something underneath me. So you're down in Florida.
Yeah.
And when did you start, your photography career? How'd you get doing that?
Yeah, man, I guess, for me, that's a bit of a loaded question because most of my closest people in my life know that, my dad's a photographer. I mean, he's a pro. He's a real pro. He knows settings. He doesn't need digital screens to let him know if the settings are right. He's just an incredible sports photographer. He started with Sports Illustrated and Inside Sports, HBO Sports, and so he used to just travel the country while I was growing up, and he'd be gone for a week documenting some sport events, and then come home, and then he'd be home for a week. So I was always interested in my dad's job because he was around so much, and then he was gone, and he'd come back with a bunch of cool memorabilia and give us hats and jackets and all this cool stuff he got from Super Bowls and stuff. And so like when I was young, man, I don't even know how old I was, but I used to take my dad's camera and go in the backyard and try to take pictures of birds and stuff like that. And then as I started getting older and we were originally from Long Island up in New York, and a town called Deer Park. And when we moved down from there down to Florida and Flagler Beach, I started surfing more. I was 15 years old, and I started not so much borrowing my dad's cameras because he didn't want me to take on the beach, so I pretty much stole his cameras. And I used to take his gear and he didn't know, and go down and take pictures of my buddies surfing. And then I would go and take the film and go print the film and then make 8x10s and basically hawk just sit on the beach and show guys when they'd walk by, hey, here you are, right before you fell. Looks like you're doing a turn, and sell them a picture for like $10 to $20. And that was pretty much my first job when I was a little, teenager, selling surf pictures to buddies on the beach.
Awesome. And so, I mean, what did that turn into eventually?
Life, bro, is just full of opportunities, and I'm a firm believer that we all have something that's gifted to us, and when we find it, sometimes people call it a hobby, but when we find it, we just like stick to it. And when I found photography as an outlet, man, I just loved it. Never considered it something I could do professionally because my dad was so good. If you saw my photos back then, you probably agree with me. They weren't very good, but I just enjoyed documenting, and then I just didn't stop. And once you get an opportunity for something that you're passionate about, and someone tells you that you're good at it, and you get excited, just followed that excitement. And next thing I knew, I got hired to be the USA Surf Team staff photographer. Once I didn't know what I was going to do in my life, I just got out of college. I thought my whole goal in life was to be a pro baseball player. That didn't happen, so I'm like, come out of college, I have to play in baseball for so many years of my life. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? But the entire time I was taking pictures, and then I got this opportunity to go to California and did it. I was like, heck yeah, I'll go to California. So I went out there and started shooting for the USA Surf Team and traveled the world with them, and learned so much being a surf photographer, man. You just learn so much on how to document, how to tell stories, going to different locations around the world and not knowing how to speak someone's language, but trying to just let them know that, you're friendly, you're there to just try to give back, try to help them out, whether it's buying something from them or even just showing them photos of themselves that they've never seen a picture of themselves. You're in pretty remote places where the waves are good. And it's just so much fun, man. So kind of just learning how to interact with people.
So I'm super ignorant when it comes to, ocean stuff and surfing. I didn't, when you had, when we were texting back and forth, you said the USA Surf Team. And I was thinking to myself, what does that mean? What is the USA Surf Team? What is it, competitions that they go to, and where are you guys where were they traveling to, and kind of what parts of the world did that take you to?
Yeah, so basically it's there's this organization called Surfing America, and what they did is they would go out into the country and have all these competitions they would set up, and they would lead to the goal of gathering the best surfers under 18 that the country can offer, and then take them around the world to compete against other countries. And every year there would be maybe about 2 different competitions around the year, or in the year around the world. Mm-hmm. And we would go and basically it would be Brazil. These kids down there, I mean, if it's soccer or if it's surfing or if it's MMA, I mean, they will just put their life and dedication into being the best they can. I mean, it's just the pride that they have for their country is incredible. And then you have Australia that, the government actually funds surfing. So they're like, we want you to do this, so Australia is usually the guys that Australia and Brazil, South Africa, even countries like France, they're just incredible talent that's coming out of there. And then you'd go to Hawaii, being that they helped originate the sport of surfing. Although they're part of the United States, they would have their own team. And forget about, you want to talk about pride, try to go to Hawaii and surf against their team. I mean, it's incredible, man. So you see all these kids that are just the best, and all for the chance to win gold. So the thing is that up until I think this next Olympics, I think they're actually going to allow surfing in, but they haven't, up until now, because it's kind of hard to predict where the waves are going to be good,
sure,
when they're going to be good, you know what I mean? And some countries don't even,
I imagine it's
have oceans.
Yeah, it's a little bit like bull riding, probably, where do you get judged off the wave, or is there any part of that? Because
It's these judges that judge them, they're just so technical on so many different things. And of course, dude, everyone thinks that they get underscored for certain maneuvers, but basically they just want to see, they want to see the biggest wave in the set caught. They want to see the biggest maneuvers and the waves ridden the longest. So, just being technical, and pulling it off is basically what you got to do. So you just, man, it's an incredible world to be surrounded in, where there's just so much energy, and plus you're dealing with the ocean, where, it's just, dude, man, I've seen some beautiful places just because of surf photography. I've been so blessed to be a surf photographer, and it got to a point though where I was living a single man's job, and just travel. I was out of the country in 2008 more than I was in it. I mean, I'd come home when I would come home, it was more like a layover. So I got to a point where, I'm freshly married. My wife Megan is just like, oh man, how much longer are you going to do this for? I'd like to have a family. And then when we became pregnant with our first child, Malachi, we were just like, it just got to a point where it felt like all signs were pointing for me to leave this awesome life that I wanted for so long. I was like, man, it's just so good. I just love it so much. But I was like, I got to just focus on this family that I'm trying to make. And, I know there's surf photographers that can do it, man. It's just a grind. And I was excited to see what God had planned for us as a family more, So I felt like the only way for me to fully transition from that was for me to leave California. So I was in San Clemente, which is like, the mecca for surf industry. So I was like, I think I gotta leave here. Otherwise I'll never stop shooting surfing, and I'll keep traveling, and I wouldn't be able to do anything else. So that ended up leading to us packing the truck up and heading east, man. Hopped on I-10 and came back to Florida. And that's where we're still at now, 8 years later.
Awesome. All right. So then how did you go from all that to getting into hunting?
Oh man. So, if you just want the truth from me, I'll just give that to you. At that point in time in my life, when I was traveling and everything was going great, something was like missing in my heart. Yeah. And I remember I was like, I called my parents and I was like, man, I just feel like something's missing. I was like, I don't know what it is. I just can't put my finger on it. And my dad's like, oh, you probably just miss us. And I'm like, I love you guys, but no offense, I don't miss you at all. I was like, it's something else. I couldn't figure it out. And man, what ended up happening is I had a bunch of buddies in my life at that time, and still do, that just like, dude, they were all just a good bunch of guys that just loved God, and I remember like that none of them were pushing their faith on me. They're just loving me. They're just my buddies, my pals. And I can't say that I was like this atheist.
This week's episode is brought to you by the following partners. Hunt Hickory Creek. New to Hunt Hickory Creek this year is their Central Kansas Lodge. They're going to be running hunters from the end of October all the way through January, and they're situated right between Quivira and Cheyenne Bottoms, which combined can hold hundreds of thousands of birds at a time. Now these guys are going to work their tails off. You got Chase, you got Cody, you got Scotty, and then you've even got Megan in there taking pictures. Guys, if you're going to be traveling outside of your state and you're going to pay for a guide service, don't roll the dice. Come into our Facebook group, pick Chase or Scotty or Cody's brain, figure out who they are, and make sure that you're going to be booking a hunt with them, because they're not just awesome guides, they're great people. They're going to show you a great time. So, if you're going to hunt Kansas, hunt Hickory Creek. We're also brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries, the fastest growing, most affordable decoys on the market with unmatched customer service. And you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, or divebombindustries.com, and you can find Asher in our listeners group and get yourself into a large, effective, affordable, and easy to set up spread. It takes about a minute to set about a dozen, and they take up no space in the garage or truck. They're tough, extremely realistic, and go get yourself twice the decoys, half the price, none of the hassle. Also brought to you by Toe Tags LLC. Now, federal migratory game bird laws apply in all 50 states. That includes yours, which includes gifting and tagging laws. Make sure to keep your birds separated and or tagged when transporting or storing them with other hunters' birds. Now, this includes from the field to home as well. Gifting in the field, though commonly done, never legal. It must be done at the donor or donee's personal abode. Hey, for other helpful hints and to keep yourself legal, go check Toe Tags LLC out on Facebook, or you can hit up Ryan in our Facebook group, or you can head on over to toetagsllc.com. So have fun, be safe, and keep it legal. We're also brought to you by Athlon Optics, which produce some of the finest shooting scopes and binoculars on the market. Their ED glass is top notch and rivals the glass of binos 3 or 4 times their price. You're going to be able to pick a goose out in a depression from half a mile with these things. I'm telling you, they're tough, sturdy, and this is where Athlon Optics goes above and beyond with their lifetime warranty, which is critical for us waterfowl hunters. I sport the Midas 10x42, and I'm extremely pleased with them. So head on over to Athlon Optics and get yourself a top-of-the-line binocular system for this season at a fraction of the price and a no worries warranty. We're also brought to you by Freelance Hunt Stats, and I got to tell you, I'm really excited to be using Freelance Hunt Stats this year. If you've never logged your hunts in the past, start doing it. Especially with freelancehuntstats.com, because it's not just a journal. This thing can catalog all of your information, and you can go back, you can look at like how you do on sunny days. It's going to be a game changer for you. So head on over to freelancehuntstats.com and start logging your hunts this season. We're also brought to you by Duck Nuts, and now I've been fighting duck decoy rigging systems since I started. Wrapping, coiling, Texas rigs, talk about a pain in the butt. Now, I work hard, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the morning, it's time to go home, and Duck Nuts allows me to do that so that I can rig my decoys that all I got to do is throw them in a bag. And with our friction system, it's too easy to just pull the line and pack it up or just throw them out. It allows you to adjust for depth, and if you're tired of fighting your decoy rigs, head on over to ducknuts.com and use your 10% off code with Foul Front discount code. We're also brought to you by Gypsum Creek. Now, Gypsum Creek is a full-service gun dog training facility in the heart of the Midwest, and they are looking to build eager, confident, and reliable field companions through a unique approach that you don't find at many other places. So come check out Gypsum Creek Retrievers on their Facebook or Instagram, or you can hit up Evan, the owner, in our Facebook group. And I promise you, this guy loves your dog more than you do, and loves teaching him how to retrieve more than you do. I got to spend a weekend out with them, and it was an awesome time, I'm telling you. What they got going on over there, that's where you're going to want to send your dog. All right, we're also brought to you by the DuckTech mobile app. Increase your odds of success in the blind this year with the DuckTech mobile app. 3-time world duck calling champion Barney Califf teaches you how to make the most important duck sounds and what they mean to a duck, and when to use them, the most important part. DuckTech is also available to download on the App Store and Google Play. With the season approaching, get the app today so you can put more ducks on the strap tomorrow. We're also brought to you by SRB Field Rests. No matter what, where, or how you hunt, SRB Field Rests got you covered. They're going to keep your shotgun, rifle, or your bow, or your crossbow safe, clean, and ready for in the field or on the range. Waterfowl hunters in a dry field, a muddy field, marshes, flooded fields, or flooded timber, SRB Field Rests has you covered. Go check them out. They've got a 10% discount code for you with Foul Front, all undercase, one word. We are also brought to you by Gunner Kennels, the market's only double-walled, roto-molded dog crate and 5-star crash-tested rated kennel. These American-made boxes come with a lifetime warranty, and the guys over at Gunner Kennels have done some crazy stuff to show you how strong they really are, like dropping 4,000 pounds on it, hammering it with a 630-pound sled, and tossing it off a 200-foot cliff and shooting it with a 12-gauge shotgun with 0 bullet penetration. You're hitting the road with your dog this season. Gunner Kennels is your safest bet, protecting your best friend and your investment. So head on over to gunnerkennels.com. We're also brought to you by HTR Innovations, and you have not heard of them yet, but I am hunting out of their A-frame this year, and they have one of the slickest inventions I've seen for waterfowl hunting. It's an awesome little gun stand for the marsh, so go check them out at htrinnovations.com. Also, here's another big thing for you. Do you absolutely hate laying in your layout blind? Well, they got something for you. So go check them out. And our good buddy Jordan over there, he's going to be doing all their filming this year. Looking forward to seeing what they got. Okay, let's get back into this week's episode.
It was more on that side of the, of the field than on of the leading side, and I ended up accepting Christ in my life, like one day in my bedroom, just by myself, and I was like, I'll give you a chance, see what happens here, and I didn't realize how much would happen to me and how much would change quickly. So what ended up happening is after that initial, like, okay, wow, I'm a Christian now, kind of question mark, so I was like, I was doing a gig. I was in California. I was doing this job, and I was driving, and I heard a voice in my head for the first time. Like, people talk about, like, God talking to you, and you're like, oh, what does that mean? But then when you hear something that, you're just like, wow, that was not me. And I heard a voice ask me, where does your food come from? And it was a question that I could still hear it today. And my answer was out loud, I don't know. And then I got back home and I started talking to my wife, Megan, and I was like, man, I had the weirdest thing happen to me, and kind of shared it with her. And I started researching, well, where does my food come from? And
right.
And so that led to me finding some things out that I didn't particularly like. I think there's a lot of bad stigma on farming and stuff. I don't think that there's anything wrong with farming, man. It's just when they're producing the numbers that they're producing, it takes the care out of the individual animal and puts it more on the numbers. And what I started realizing is, man, the amount of numbers that are trying to pump out, it just decreased the care. And I was like, man, I love animals. It's like a weird thing to start thinking about.
Oh yeah.
And I got to a point, man, I was just like, I pulled the plug. I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna eat store-bought meat anymore. And for me, everything was a focus on meat, because I was just a complete carnivore. And so I told my wife, I'm like, you should probably look into this too. And she was like, I don't think so. I don't want to know any of that. I was like, and then she ended up doing it, and we both agreed. We're like, well, let's be vegetarian. So
what year was this?
This was, where are we? This was about almost 11 years ago.
Okay.
So we both went about 6 months vegetarian, and things started just kind of not feeling right. Mentally, mostly. You're just like, oh my goodness, we couldn't stop craving meat. And like, we're both talking about it, like, wow, maybe we'll go find some like soy products that, you get these soy sausages or tofu turkey and all this other stuff. And we gave it a try, and dude, it just tasted horrible to me. Everyone was like, oh, it tastes just like meat. I'm like, I don't know if I was like, no, this is horrible.
Right.
So I couldn't do any of that, and I was walking down the aisle, in the meat aisle in the grocery store. I think it was like Ralph's in San Clemente, California, or something like that. And I just remember seeing like meat in the window display in the meat section, and dude, the weirdest thought came to me. I saw like this, this red meat with like kind of the blood on it and everything. And dude, I started salivating so much, I wanted to slam my head through that case and eat that meat. So now I'm at like about, I think it's month 8. And I came back home, and I said, Megan, I can't do this anymore. She's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I think that maybe the only option would be for me to go get it myself. And she's like, I'm like, where? And I was like, maybe, go hunting. She's like, are you sure? And like, she's like, have you hunted before? And I'm like, I kind of did when I was younger. And I was like, I could tell my dad to ship out my guns that I got at home and see what I can do. And it ended up getting my guns, and a buddy that was a friend of mine that was a Marine at Camp Pendleton, he ended up going with me duck hunting and pheasant hunting. And we used to just, overshoot ducks, just like coming home with these poor birds that were just devastated by BBs and hardly getting any meat out of it. I had no idea what I was doing. We just, it was a crap show in the beginning. And I felt bad for my wife. She thought that I was going to be coming home with all this amazing meat, and I'd slap this little chucker on the table, and she's like, "That's it." Oh man. Oh. So yeah, man, it was humble beginnings for sure. But then I just stuck with it. And then that end of that year, we ended up driving across the country. Or a couple couple years later. Yeah, it was a couple years later. We ended up driving across the country and moved to Florida. And I went to high school here in Flagler County, and we're right above Daytona Beach, right below St. Augustine. And I never realized, I drive down the same roads all the time, and of course it'd be like woods and stuff, but you never just look at it. You just drive past it. And I started looking at woods differently at that point, and I was like, man, there's got to be game in there. And I would just go 100 yards off the road, and I was just immersed. I was like, you got to be kidding. There's so much here to try to harvest. And that was the game changer. Coming back to Florida, realizing the resources we have here, and then, linking up with some good old Florida country boys that help guide me and laugh at me and just, make fun of me when I was just doing. I mean, I'd go out, I'd go hunting with 2 guns. Like, I'd have a rifle in case I saw a buck or a hog, and I'd have a shotgun in case I saw a turkey. And they're like, what the frig? What are you doing? I'm like, I'd be walking around in duck waders and making a ton of noise. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I learned a lot through embarrassment.
The best lessons are learned by your buddies laughing at you. So
exactly, that happened.
So yeah, I just hear that, you're talking about 2 guns, and like you're hunting with your stomach at that, you know what I mean? That point, like it's such an interesting genesis for a hunter's development. A lot of times, it starts off as something different. And, you go through one of those stages where now it's about the meat, you know what I mean? And it's, one of your obsessions is, preparing that meat and all that stuff. But it's a very interesting take that's literally the genesis of it for you. Yeah, man.
It all boils down. I mean, the reason why here we are, this is our 10th year of not eating any store-bought meat. It's only what we harvest or my friends harvest. And, I think it all boils down to animal welfare for us. There's a lot of people that do go hunting because they talk about clean meat and stuff, and I totally agree with it. Actually, I love that fact of it. But for me, dude, I'm a sensitive dude. I mean, any of my good friends will let you know, man. I'm ultimately a big softie, and it's just like I truly care about these animals, and I guarantee you that I care more about deer than anyone that's on PETA. I just absolutely adore these things, and it's hard for people to understand when they see pictures of me and the kids just so stoked on a buck, it's just like, what, but for us, it just means more, man. It's like my kids are connected to the outdoors. They know exactly where their food comes from, and they love that.
Yeah.
And they get a little confused, as we get the questions all the time, like, Daddy, can I have a hot dog? It's a weird part of life when, you're finding something that works for you, but then you have these beautiful little lives that you've helped create, and then you want to guide them the right way, but you also don't want to like force anything on them. And dude, trying to figure that out as a parent is a whole nother podcast on its own. But it's like, I usually I just say, look, if you want to know where that comes from, I'll let you know. But if you want it, you can have it. I don't want to like force, my ways on my kids, and I just want them to, if they respect dad and mom for doing that, and if they, and our friends, and if they want to, then join up with us and they can,
So does your kid get the hot dog then?
It's kind of interesting question, because my daughter Malachi, she's just so smart. And she usually will just say, she'll want to know more about it from her friends' parents, even like, where'd you get that? She's starting to understand why we do it. So she's actually wants the wild game more than anything. I'm not with them all the time, so I can't say that they haven't. But usually, they always want wild game, But I don't want to stop them from experimenting with that stuff. It's like, hey, you want a hot dog or a hamburger? I mean, yeah, go for it. It's not something that I try to restrict on them. It's just something that I know that in my life right now, God's put on my heart to just say, this is what I'm doing. And through that, man, I've seen so much fruit in that with my kids, just, wanting to go hunting with me, wanting to see the process of it all, like not freaked out, like I mean, we do it all. I take it and, my poor neighbors, I'm hanging hogs in the front yard. And, it's gotten, and skinning things out. And they're just like, oh, you got another one? That's great. And they probably think we're just nuts, but the kids love it, and they love being a part of it. And at this point, man, we've pretty much filled every single gap for the meat that we'd want outside of bacon. I mean, holy cow, did you smell bacon cooking? There's something that happens to you. So, for us, we don't get that much bacon. I've been able to get a couple big hogs where they'll have enough, they're happy enough where they are near some big oaks, and they'll be eating a bunch of acorns, and you can get some bacon, but for the most part, you don't. So that's one that we haven't completely figured out yet.
Sure.
But for the you're hunting these hogs outdoors, and dude, they're track stars. They're not sitting in the pen eating a bunch of food. They're running nonstop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but so yeah, man, that's just kind of where we're at. It's just all about the animals and just making sure that they're happy, and that's kind of a weird thing to think about when you're out there trying to kill them at the same time.
Right. It's a very dichotomous thing about hunters being such a compassionate group of people. A lot of people think, and there definitely are the stereotypes, stereotypical hunters, but more often than not, these hunters care a lot more about the game and the animals that they're harvesting than, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. At least in my eyes. I think I want to talk a little bit more about kind of what you'd found about, factory farming. That I have a little bit of an issue with it as well. I'm not nearly far as along my path to decreasing my footprint or my responsibility as you are, obviously. I still grab a burger from McDonald's. I still buy meat at the grocery store, but we do try to make a good push to eat as much game as we can. My wife, she's trying to adjust to it, but let's.
Yeah, man, I could definitely tell you where I've gotten the most motivation from. As far as the opposite side, what I don't like,
right?
I just the thing that stuck out to me the most was the antibiotics used. So it kind of just brought a question in my mind. Like, you're talking about, I think it's something like, someone hopefully listening can fact check this, but I think it's somewhere around like 80 to 90% of the world's antibiotics are produced for farmed animals.
I did not know that.
So why is that happening, right? Like, why do they need this much antibiotics? And that question just kept resonating with me, and that's what made me look into like I said, man, I'm a little different when it comes to it all, because I care about animals so much. So I'm like,
right.
Why are they so sick? Why are they preventing them from becoming sick? Because I'm sure they're just stabbing them, whether they've checked them to be. I don't mean stabbing them, like giving them an injection, whether they know that they need it or not. They're probably just trying to prevent. So when you start looking at their welfare as far as how they're raised to produce the amount of numbers that's needed to fulfill every need, from any bodega in California to every deli in New York. It's just, you think about how many places, 7-Elevens or anything you go into, there's meat there.
Right.
It's incredible. It's just absolutely incredible how much, and you're talking about something that has a shelf life, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the other thing. It's like, dude, it's got to be constant. It's nonstop. Right now, it's nonstop. There's just nonstop. While we're talking, we already talked for 20 minutes or so. Think about how many animals had it been not only slaughtered, but also, the stages of it, how quickly they have to be pushed out, in and out, in and out, in and out. It's staggering, bro.
And probably even worse than that is, how much of it goes to waste? What's our efficiency percentage?
It's a great question. So man, that's the antibiotic thing definitely stirred me. And, that's something that I just, I don't particularly like about factory farming. So no, I do also want to say, man, in Florida, I don't think people realize how much farmland we have here. And if you ever come to Florida and you drive around, a lot of people go to, Mickey Mouse Town, and then you drive into Orlando. Most of when you're driving to these locations, you'll see a lot of land, and in that land, there's cattle just roaming around. We have incredible amount of farmland for cows and cattle here, and I know these farmers personally, some of them, and especially in our county. And dude, you won't meet people that care more about their product more than like a farmer.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's, it's just, when you're talking about a family or even like a small community that's gathered together for farming, you cannot beat it, man. You can find that, and you can actually probably go up to these farmers and go to their homes and say, hey, I'd like to buy one of these steer from you next time you get slaughtered. And for like $1,500, you can get a steer, and you're going to have enough food for your family for over a year.
Yeah.
You're going to need a big dang freezer, a big, an empty upright. But I mean, it's like you'll have enough beautiful meat that's just been, perfectly taken care of. So yeah, man, there's a lot of opportunities out there, a lot more than people think, to just, be able to connect with local farmers, because they're hardworking people. And, they deserve to be respected.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And a lot of people on one side of the fence look at, ranchers and farmers and they think, oh, they just make their money off of, basically blood and killing these animals. It's blood money for them. And they've never seen a rancher staying up till 4 a.m. or all night trying to keep a calf warmed up. And yeah, of course it's money to them, but there's a deep connection there with the short amount of time that they know that animal has on the earth, that they'd prefer it not be a bad one.
What I would recommend for anyone listening, and this is one biggest recommendation, is like, if you eat meat and you're not a hunter, go and see if there's a local family mom and pop butcher shop nearby, because the thing is that if there's a mom and pop butcher shop that is in your community, or even, golly, it's even worth it, like an hour away, find it, because that butcher will have a direct connection with the local farmers and will be getting the best quality meat. And I know that some of places like here in Florida, we have Publix, man, they do a good job. They got some good meats and good seafood and stuff that they bring in. But the thing is like when you go to one of those mom and pop shops, man, I mean, it's like they're almost like a farmer without the farm. Like they want to make sure that they have the best meats for their customers. So I would recommend that. Here in Florida, we're blessed to have a good amount of those locally for people here. So I just I know the bigger the city, you never know. But.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess let's get into a little bit. So the transition from going, vegetarian to, putting, game meat on the table. You said you started off with ducks and upland bird.
Yeah.
Throughout all that, what are some of the hardest lessons you've learned, or what's the hardest part? Like, we've talked about the why you do it and all that stuff, but what are the hurdles?
I think that one of the misconceptions for hunters, because I obviously know a lot of them, is that they're, we could thank Disney a lot for this, and it's just, they're heartless. They're the guys in Crocodile Dundee shooting the kangaroos and drinking and spotlights, and it's the Elmer Fudd's, and just the guys that go out and shooting Bambi's mom or wherever, just like just these heartless murderers.
Yeah.
Dude, it couldn't be further from the truth. I think that a lot of the hunters that I know that we talk about sometimes is the way that you feel. You know what I mean? Like the feelings that you get. It's in the beginning stages, it's like, wow, I just took this thing to life. You're sitting there and you're just like, oh my goodness, and then it's an emotional process, right? And a lot of times people get a lot of energy. They get like you get fired up, and you'll watch things where people are like, what is it saying? Shot him in the pump house, and
Yeah.
smoked him, and all this stuff. But it's just like people don't understand the amount of energy that happens from that moment where you get just so pumped up, and then you have so much adrenaline, but then all of a sudden you have this come down.
Yes.
Like, whoa, and then you have this moment of just like, you want to kneel next to this thing and just like look at it, and just like you can't help but say, what a beautiful animal. And then I personally believe that what I found is that the best way for me to take any of those feelings that might be like close to a remorse, or going, man, dang it, man, like maybe I shouldn't have shot that, that happens.
Yeah.
To some of the toughest hunters I know, they'll admit that. But the way that I've realized is like the way to respect that animal more than letting it walk away. Because dude, there are constant things trying to attack those things. Yeah. I mean, if there's anything that's delicious outdoors, believe me, other things know it, and they're trying to rip it to friggin' shreds. They want to eat that thing too. So me taking something with a hard lung shot with an arrow, or a bullet, is way, way better than what could have happened to them. And because at some point they're either going to wither away and die a slow death and possibly eaten by coyotes, or attacked by something bigger, or hit by a car. So there's just so many things that can happen to these animals. So what I've realized is, like, when I harvest something, the way that I can fully respect this thing is to take it and with care process it, and then cook it with love for my family and my friends. And so for me, the best way and epitome of respect for an animal that we've taken is to cook it properly.
Yeah, and that's I know exactly what you're talking about when you talk about the remorse, and it's a hard thing to explain to non-hunters or anti-hunters, and I completely agree with your ideology of honoring the animal through not only just the harvest, but the respectful harvest, but then fully utilizing it. I think in the beginning stages, there's a lot of learning curves that happens. You think that you can just cut this deer up or cut this duck up and just throw it on the grill, and you're going to instantly like it or love it. And some people really do. But I think, and I've observed it, where I take new guys out, and we clean the meat and we breast out the birds, and I tell them to do this, and then they say, hey, I didn't really like that duck, and it's like, yeah, I understand. And then the next time we go out, they're like, hey, do you want to just keep the meat? And it's like, no, man, you got to go prepare this the right way. Like, listen to let me show you how to do it. And does the game flavor that everybody talks about, because we're all used to these high fat meats, and these factory farm things that are produced for taste and all the salt. How did you guys jump that hurdle, and or do you still jump it every now and then, or tell me about your process and the preparation and cooking?
Dude, I mean, I grew up in a household like where my father is Italian, my mother is from England, and these two cultures have two opposite ways of cooking, but so much passion in their plates and what they produce and stuff. And I just learned from these women in my family, from my grandmothers and my mother, the amount of love that they put into cooking. I mean, it always just enamored me when I was younger. I used to always sit at the table and watch them cook, and man, I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. And as I got older, and when I went to college, I used to cook for all my buddies, do big steak meals and stuff. So I was always like cooking. I loved it. It was a form of expression for me. And so when we got into wild game, it's like, all right, let's try to figure this out. So it was a lot of fun. I understand the term when people say gamey. I get it. I don't completely agree with it. I almost feel like it's a word that people just learn to say.
Right.
I understand it though, because most of the time people, like you had mentioned, they'll cook things too much because there's no fat. I mean, you can make a lot of mistakes when you cook in a big marble steak. I mean, you can walk away a little bit. Oh, God, it's a little burnt. It's like, oh, the fat's just burnt. You can kind of scrape a little bit off. And
Right.
flip it around a couple more times and call it seared. And you get away with a lot more stuff with different, even store bought pork and chicken, of course. But when you handle venison, I mean, you're looking at just a high quality meat. I have a lot of like nails on the chalkboard for me at this point of the game when it comes to people and how they cook their wild game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not and it's not because I don't eat bacon anymore, but it's just like I just feel like there's so much flavor in bacon. And it's bacon on its own. It's a freaking meat candy. I mean, it's just, it's amazing flavor that can come out of bacon, but it's like, stop wrapping your game in bacon.
Right.
You gotta start cherishing the flavor of this meat, because I mean, people will take a whole deer and they'll burger it, or they'll sausage it, or they'll summer sausage it. And I'm just like, no, please stop. I mean, just venison when it's cooked properly, holy cow. You're talking about incredible meat. Wild hog is probably the most misunderstood meat in Florida. I can't speak for every state, but here, it's gotten like the worst stigma, man. It's like it's an evil little pest that's just overpopulated and has to be just mowed down and shoot it in the gut and let it walk away and just die in the woods, type of thing. You're talking about, so when St. Augustine was established, it's the oldest city in America here in Florida. So when they established St. Augustine, they had brought over their prized food from Spain, which is the jamón ibérico, the black hoofed hog. So they brought this hog over, and it's the best meat that they had there, and then it went feral. It escaped. So that's why we have wild hogs here in Florida, is from that. So when you see a black hog, in Florida, it's a direct descendant from, when DeSoto came here, and these hogs got released by accident. And hogs are incredible creatures of survival. They will, wherever they are, they'll figure out a way to survive. They'll eat whatever they can, whatever they have to keep going. And that will lead to, in some locations, bad meat. I mean,
right.
You have whatever. If the animal doesn't have a good diet, it's not going to produce good meat. So, but the interesting thing about the jamón ibérico in Spain is what they do is the farmers allow their hogs to roam around in hundreds of acres that's penned in, but they have them penned in areas that have giant oak hammocks where they're dropping acorns, and then they have mushrooms and grubs and stuff that they forage for. They supplement feed them, but they also allow them to forage, right? And they say
right.
the wild acorns produces the best quality meat that it can have. So what happened is they brought these hogs here, and man, dude, the southeast, we're littered with oak trees. I mean, the acorns are falling right now. You can't get an animal to come to your corn feeder right now. Everything's eating acorns. So it's these hogs are just foraging for these acorns. They're producing the best quality meat you could possibly imagine. The last thing you want to do is let one of these things get away from you. Don't ever, trust me. You cook it properly. It tastes probably nothing much like pork. It tastes more like and it's hard for me because I'm 10 years down the road, but more of like a roast beef.
Right.
When cooked right, the flavor quality from it is just incredible. So I know that there's a hog problem, but I'm telling you, man, for us, it's a meat solution. We're allowed to shoot. We can shoot hogs here in Florida talk about an introduction to people to hunting. I get so many people, obviously, as you'd imagine, that want to go hunting, right? They're like, oh, I want to go hunting with you. I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. They're like, oh, it's not hunting season though. I'm like, yeah, it is for hogs. Year round, no bag limit, any means you can take them. You're taking a kid out that has a 22 Magnum, going for an earshot, or you're taking someone that is from another state that just, that loves bow hunting and has only hunted whitetail. You could take them bow hunting at any time of year,
yeah.
and even shooting them at night. And then and it's just what an opportunity, man. And the meat quality is just tremendous.
Yeah, I think
So
that's a huge opportunity
yeah.
for, both the food problem that we're going to be having here in the next 40, 50 years and the environmental problem that we're going to be having in the next
Yeah.
40, 50
And
years.
And look, man, I understand why they're demonized. Like, because I mean, they do blow up people's properties. I mean, you got to see when the acorns start falling here, and you get into these fancy neighborhoods with these mansions on it, and they're like, "Oh, let's build a house by these gorgeous oak trees." Yeah, well, guess what? When those acorns start falling, those hogs are coming out of the woods behind your house, and then all that nice sod, it's gone. The farmers, I mean, they don't like them because they just blow up the properties. The equestrian people don't like them because the horses can, break a leg in the and all the rooting. So I mean, there's all reasons why people should not like them, and I totally get that. And that's why I love when I get the calls when they go, "Hey, we got a hog problem." Be right there.
Yep, that's a great opportunity. So
yeah.
So where have you all been around the country hunting? I know that you and me got linked up through Chase White. And, how did you come to meet Chase, and what are all these? Where all have you been?
As far as locations, limited. This is the last 2 years that I've been traveling because, I mean, dude, I got 3 kids. I got a wife. I value my time with them so much. I'm needed in this house, so I have a good buddy of mine that, this guy, my friend Rob, he's Rob Snow. He's an incredible photographer. And he's been traveling a lot lately, and he's just saying, "Man, I got to get it in before I get kids," because he's just going out hunting, documenting, and he knows when those kids come. Man, kids are anchors, bro.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you get one anchor, you can kind of still go do your thing, but you got 3 anchors on you, forget about it. You're docked. So I mean, I've gotten to a point where if I do go on a travel or go hunting somewhere, it's probably only for 5 days. It's like I try getting there, 3 days of hunting, coming back or so, because it just, being a husband and a dad, dude, you're needed in your home, so, I've been hunting a lot in Florida. When you come here and when I talk to you into visiting me, you're going to see why. But the opportunities that come from all these good people around the country that have been blessing me with invites, man.
Right.
And I can't say enough about Chase and Megan. I met Megan through Instagram because me and my friends had started a Huntatarian, a way of just kind of displaying what we do, documenting others outdoors, and kind of just sharing what it means to be a hunter for us. And I was like, man, I'd love to find like a girl that's out there and try to get her connected with us, and see if she'd be interested in being in this beginning stage of Huntatarian with us. And it's like, Instagram's funny like that, man. Like if you hit that search button and you start like, just, you see one thing and you're like, oh, tuna fishing. You click on tuna fishing and you click off and you see, and they click another one. But the time you go back the next day, you're just seeing nothing but people catching tuna fish, So
right.
what I did, I was like, oh, okay, let me click on this girl. And then she's, holding the fish with bikini on. And I'm like, well, okay. And I click off that and see another one. You're like, okay, there's another attractive woman, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of followers in her. And then you start seeing like these girls that are doing right. And you're like, wow, like that. What's that girl in Hannah? Was she in Alabama or somewhere? But then she's incredible, hunter and just providing for the family the right way. And I started just trying to weed out, like who are these ethical female hunters and how can I find them? And then I saw this photo that was taken. I was like, man, that's a pro shot. That's a seriously good photo. I clicked on it and I saw the credit, Megan Lupien, and I was like, wow, who's this girl? Clicked on her and it's kind of interesting, like how sometimes people are so talented, but they don't have like the 12,000, 55,000 followers.
Right.
And nothing against, of course, Megan's incredible at so many things, but she was just showing these great moments that was nothing like overly provocative, of course, So, she's just getting all these just hunters that just respect her for her imagery. And I ended up becoming one of them. I was like, wow, this girl's incredible. So I contacted her. And then her and Chase gave me the invite to come out to Kansas last year. And it was interesting because I was actually not convinced about duck meat, to be quite honest, man. Like when I first started hunting, when I was very young, my dad, I was like 5 years old in New York, and he was a duck hunter, and I never could remember ever liking the meat ever.
Right.
And I remember like the stories of my dad just cooking like Thanksgiving dinner with a goose, and my mom just ruining Thanksgiving. You know, there's just like, you know, just a smell like permeating, and everyone was off of it. You know, so like all these weird things stuck in my head. Though I was like, you know, I just, you know, in California I couldn't cook duck good. I was like, their meat is just isn't good. So when I told him, I was like, you know, I would like to come up there and duck hunt with you guys because I actually don't think the meat's very good. And I want to see if it is, because I was getting a little better at cooking wild game at this point. And so last year I went up there with my buddy Chris Herrera, and we had an amazing time with them. And Kansas is such an amazing place to go bird hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, just so much fun, and the camaraderie you have in a blind. The way it's such an opposite way of hunting. Cause I mean, when you go deer hunting or hog hunting or turkey hunting, you're not talking, you know, you're hardly moving. But when you're duck hunting, man, you can just laugh, make fun of your buddies for missing. And then every 10 minutes, there's another wave of geese or ducks coming. You know, you get an opportunity again.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So, you know, so much fun. So I was like, you know what? I'm not saying at all that duck hunting isn't fun. I can't find a way to hunt that's actually more fun. It's, you know, but the thing is does the meat quality match how much fun it is shooting these things? Because if I truly care about these ducks, I shouldn't be just whacking them if I'm not, you know, eating them and enjoying it. So it was a big test for me, man. And my buddy Chris, man, he's an amazing cook. So he was just like, look, man, because what you got to do is you just got to take these things and you got to sear it, and then you got to slice it thin and just do not overcook it. He's like, you overcook it, you're going to start tasting that liver, you know, that liver flavor.
Right.
And he's like, these things don't stop flying. I mean, they're beating those little wings nonstop. So it produces a very red meat with a lot of iron in it. So we get get these ducks and take it. My buddy Chris, he takes olive oil, rubs it on one of the breasts, just does a salt and pepper and sears it on the iron skillet. 2 minutes on one side, flips it, does 1 minute on the other, lets it rest for a minute, and then sliced it. And I'm not kidding you, man. I don't know if I've had anything better than that.
Yeah.
I was so floored by it. So then I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. So then Chase and his buddy Scotty and Megan were all there, and it was like, well, let's try it. They try it, and they just look at each other and like, seriously, we're never making friggin' poppers again.
Right.
You know, it's just like, this is all we're doing.
Yeah.
And then after that, we went out to Missouri and Tennessee, and we hunted with some good boys out there. And they had a freezer full of duck meat that they had just been shooting and just putting, you know, breasting them out, putting them in the bags. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't like eating it. Maybe we'll do some poppers. Well, we started cooking it for them, and they're like, oh my God, like we've been cooking this the wrong way the whole time. So, you know, we're at a point where my wife very rarely asks me, when are you going on a hunting trip? And she just asks me, she's like, when are you going back to Kansas to get more duck meat? You know?
Oh man.
Yeah, it's that good, man. I'm telling you. You know, it's just unreal. So
that's a good problem to have. So.
Yeah, even the geese, man. Even the geese. We were like, okay, well, maybe it's just the ducks. Maybe it's just the pintail. Maybe it's just the mallards. Maybe it's just the wood ducks. Like, we're just like, no, every duck. We're like, okay, well, divers can't taste good, of course. Well, guess what? They do it. You know, it's like, yeah, man, it's been great. So we've realized is any way that you like preparing a steak, prepare your duck breast that way. You know, make a chimichurri sauce. You know, it's very, very easy to make. Make like a garlic mashed potato. You know, take some olive oil, sear your garlic, and then put that into a nice mashed potato with some, you know, good cream and some good organic butter. Stir that around, make a nice pile of garlic mashed potatoes, sear your duck breast with the salt and pepper, slice it and lay it on top of that mashed potato, and then put a little chimichurri sauce on that and serve that to your wife. Forget about it.
Yeah. I'll do that this next weekend. Diver ducks, just salt, pepper, and seared.
Yeah. Yep. it's with any duck, man. I'm telling you, if you overcook it, it's not going to be the best thing you've ever had. And we've tried that, So I understand where that comes into, like, oh, that was gamey. But you just got to understand the meat. It's just it's got a lot of iron in it. And the reason why I focus on that term iron is because my wife has this disease called Hashimoto's. It's an autoimmune disease. It's related to hypothyroidism and stuff.
Okay.
So one of the things that we've realized through the study of it is that a lot of her feeling is balanced through what she's eating. And one of the things that she needs is iron. So there's a in the studies that we do, the doctors we talk to try to make, because these autoimmune diseases, dude, they suck, man. Like you would look at a person that has Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, and you just kind of go, I don't see anything wrong with them, but
right.
It's more their internal feeling. And how much that hinges on diet is incredible. So one of the main things that she needs is a high iron diet. And you find that in organ meat, and you find that in wild duck. So the fact that wild duck tastes good and it's delicious and she loves it. It's like, dude, it's just a game changer for her.
Yeah.
She feels so good with it and venison and stuff like that. I got to say, man, like, people assume because we eat only wild game that, like, we eat kind of, I guess you'd call it, like, the weird parts of the animals,
Yeah.
or like, all different types of animals, like raccoons and squirrels and stuff. And it's something that we've just recently been getting into. It's like, there's a lady that I know, she eats raccoons like crazy. She loves them. She's like, I'm telling you, they are amazing. And she's going to teach me how to properly cook them. So we're going to give it a try, and see how it goes. My wife said no way, she'll never eat one. But we'll see. I might have to trick her into that one. And then we just recently had squirrel, like a year ago. And I'm telling you what, man, I look at squirrels completely different now. I didn't realize how delicious those things were. They're crazy good. So that's another thing that we've been going after. But the thing is this organ meat, man, like, it's, for some reason, it's a hurdle mentally for my family to get over,
Interesting.
But like the liver, is something I know that is people just absolutely love. So I'm trying to figure out a way to how to cook that properly. So I got a buddy of mine, this guy Frank. He tells me, he's like, look, man, I will come and skin out any animal you shoot if you just give me the liver. He's like,
Wow.
I just love it.
Do you think there's any part of this, with your journey, and you guys are 10 years in right now, so it makes you, a little bit more, it's an easier transition now because you have to kind of train your palate to break the mold of, what we've been for, growing up in the last, 15, 20, 50 years of how meat has been produced. Is there any truth to that, you think?
Well, one thing that I've experienced, man, is like, so it's hard for me when people say, what does it taste like? Because they want you to associate it with something. I'm like, I'm probably not the best at that. Because, I haven't had a big steak in 10 years. I haven't had a roast beef in that long. A chicken, and, it's like, store-bought turkey,
right.
All these things, it's hard for me to associate, it tastes like this. So I'm like, you just got to try it. But what is pretty rad is all these people in our community. We live in a tight-knit community here, man. And they know that we're the wild game family, So, and I have lots of cookouts and barbecues that I've been so blessed by a friend of mine, the guy Tyler Stark at Traeger. He's just like, he's so stoked on what we're doing, man, and he blessed us with some cool grills, and we're able to cook out for like 20 people at a time, and it's all their first introduction to game meat. And so what's happened for me is, instead of me saying, oh, it tastes like this, or something of the sort, I just let them try it, and
right.
they're like, I can't believe how good this is, and like, I never thought that wild hog would taste this way. It's just like, it's so cool to watch people work through that. And it's so fun for me because I mean a lot of and maybe it's the reason why I'm so into cooking is because I'm so into hunting and I care so much about the animals. So for me, when I give someone wild game for the first time, I put a lot of care into it because I want their experience to be good. Because most of the time I hear from people, oh, when I was a kid, my uncle shot a deer and I'll never eat deer again.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes down to I have this friend of mine. He's older than me. He used to be our local town butcher. He has MS right now, so he's confined to a wheelchair most of the time. But I mean, as far as his mind, he's sharp, and as far as like what his knowledge in hunting and meat, dude. I mean, the guy has just been just a deep well of knowledge for me. And something that he's helped me with is the preparation and how important it is because he used to work as a butcher in a slaughterhouse. He's like, everything that they do with the meat, as far as how much it's worth, is all about the care that's taken for it. So he's helped me transition his knowledge of all that meat into, and also with his knowledge of venison because he lived in Minnesota and hunted up there all the time. But yeah, Bug Mahoney, amazing man. So he's shown me how to help prepare the meat so that the table fare is as good as it can be. And that all comes down to how well you take care of that deer, that hog, that turkey, that duck, or the pheasant, whatever you're shooting. Right after you shoot it, how do you take care of it? That's going to equate how it tastes for the people who are going to cook it when you cook for all those people and how they enjoy it for sure.
So, what's your advice on, ducks and geese?
I've noticed a lot of times with those, like when people shoot them, they just kind of let them hang out for a while. They just kind of stack them up, and just maybe go back to the lodge and they're kind of just hanging out and they go inside and have a drink. Dude, it's important, man. After you harvest any animal, as soon as you can to get that meat in, out and cooled down.
Right.
Because the decay process happens immediately when that heart stops beating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so you have to understand that. And if you don't, and I understand too, when you're hunting in the wintertime and you're shooting geese, I mean, obviously, or in Saskatchewan early season, you're not caring too much about the warmth. But if you're in the Southeast in Florida, let me tell you something, dude, you got to get them guts out quick.
Yeah, sure.
You quick. That's what.
Have you done any hanging with, fowl? I read an article about how, this guy, he lets his ducks hang for, 3 or 4 days, in cool temperatures to kind of age. And they say, it used to be pretty common. And I actually have a limit of teal right now that are in my, 45-degree garage right now that are hanging on the strap. This is my first time ever trying it. Have you done anything with that? And
are they plucked and gutted, or are they just
No, he said you just hang them in 45-degree weather, or in 45 degrees. So I also do home brewing. So I've got my thermometer out there right now that's monitoring, and it has not gone, below 40, and it hasn't gone above 47 degrees. So yeah. I'm kind of, I'm a little leery of it, but I'll, go ahead.
Well, people call it, and I learned this from Bug Mahoney, but people call it aging. But yeah. They should just call it decaying,
right?
Because there is a rigor mortis stage that happens, and it's my knowledge with waterfowl isn't as much as my knowledge with what I've learned in the past 10 years with larger mammals and stuff. But you just got to remember that. So the reason, this rigor mortis happens the first day, but it'll relax. But then at that point you're getting a breakdown. And when people say, oh, I let my deer age, for 2 weeks and it becomes more tender, more flavorful. There is more flavor in that. But I particularly enjoy the fresh flavor.
Okay.
It's, I don't think you need to try to add flavor into venison, especially if their diet is good. I mean, you kidding? You get one of these deer from Kansas that are on these farms and just eating foraging, and then also getting like supplement food from the beans and just the corn that they're going after that's growing. I mean, you're getting some incredible flavored meat with venison.
Right.
I don't, there's, and plus the aging process, man, it's got to be done right. Which I'm not saying people can't do it right on their own in the garage and stuff. It's just, I think it's a little more intricate than just letting something hang in an open area.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about the way that guys do it in the slaughterhouses that are trying to produce this high quality meat that should be charged that much because there's a lot of care put into it. So I don't know. For me, man, I used to do brines a lot. I used to try to figure out ways to pull the blood out of things. Because there's all these things that people used to tell me. The further I'm getting down this road, the more I'm realizing, man, these things are basically almost ready to be cooked, pretty close to the harvest time. But I do let my deer hang a day, maybe 2 days, just to kind of let the meat relax a little bit. And then it's a lot easier to if you're going to bone out the meat. But as far as the waterfowl, man, I don't know about that. But,
yeah,
but
I'll report back and let you know.
But to be quite honest with you, man, I know I'd try it with you.
Right.
Have a little bit of your home brew and try some of that decaying duck.
Yeah, yeah. I shot those on Sunday, and I'm pulling them in tonight to breast them out. So.
Yeah, man. And I would love to talk with you. Even on, when you're about to do that, I'll kind of share some more with you as I do it. But one thing that I used to do a lot with the hogs, and I misguided a lot of people on this a few years back. I would take it and I would put the hog right into a brine to kind of like try to make it look more like pork. Pull the blood out and stuff. Put it in an ice brine, and my buddy Bug was just like, dude, no, man, you that water immediately creates bacteria no matter the temperature you have that ice at. So he's like, you want to keep this meat dry. So that's what I've been doing now. It's just, take it and gut it as soon as possible. You want to get that meat out, the organs out, as soon as possible.
Right.
It's such an important thing as far as the quality of the meat. Because you don't want that heat to radiate in throughout the meat. It's just not good.
Yeah.
And then another thing that he's taught me as well is like when you're going to cook something, if you have a big roast, if you have something, that was been in the freezer, you want to make sure two things. Like before you put it in the freezer, you don't want to freeze it too fast. You want to take like, especially the deer up north. I mean, down here in Florida, we have smaller deer, but you guys up there, I mean, your deer, they're hosses. So, you take a big ham that still has a bone in it. You want to make sure that gets down, to a very gradual, low temperature. If you take it from the field and you freeze it right away, it'll actually, inside, it won't actually completely freeze. It'll create its own little incubation inside where the meat will rot. And even though you put it in the freezer, so you want to get that ham down slowly to a temperature of about, keep it in like how you said in your garage, like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Let it slowly come down and let it hang there for a little bit and then package it.
I've never heard that. That's.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll eat meat and it'll be foul. You'll be like, oh man, what the, It's just like, what is that? But it's basically the meat got too much bacteria inside near the bone that never froze deeply.
Jeez.
And sometimes people do the same thing too. If they take it out of the freezer and they don't let it get to room temperature, they take it out and then they say they defrost it in the fridge. They pull it out of the fridge and they put it right in the smoker or something.
Yeah.
You got to let the whole meat kind of just like relax and get to room temperature, because you'll do the same thing on the opposite side. And it'll create a bad tasting flavor as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, Huntatarian.
Yes.
What's that about?
Yeah, it's turned into my everyday job, along with being a dad and being a husband and being a photographer. It's just every day of my life. I live this now, and it stemmed from when I first came back to Florida. And I would start hunting. My buddy Matt Katsolis I love this guy. He's just like, my best friends, dude. We did so much together in the surf industry, traveling, experienced so much in life together. And then, so when I would go hunting, he's like, checking in on me. He's like, hey, what are you doing, man? I'm like, oh, I just got out of the woods. He's like, doing what? And I'm like, hunting. He's like, what are you hunting? I'm like, hogs. He's like, that sounds pretty cool. And, so he's like, can I come? I'm like, yeah. So the next time we go, we start going together and we started learning together. And, he lives up in Jacksonville. He's like an hour away from me, but he's from Flagler, where I live now. So he knows all the ins and outs of all the same places I know, or I've been trying to find to go hunting. And we just had so much fun together. And then we would throw barbecues, and I was cooking one day, and one of the people we invited said to me, okay, like, you're like a vegetarian, but you only eat the meat that you hunt. So what are you? And as a joke, I said, I'm a Huntatarian. And, like typical around your friends, some things start to stick.
Right.
So everyone would call me that. And then my buddy Matt's like, look, man, we need to document some things and just, do something with it. He's like, let's see what happens. So I said, okay. So, we started documenting what we were doing and taking some friends out and documenting that. And, I got to give credit to Matt. He's like, look, man, he's like, you're a professional photographer. He's like, our closest friends are photographers. There's no reason why we should be sharing anything with an iPhone, anything with a cell phone at all. He's like, let's just make sure that we bring cameras out and we document it professionally and just share it and try to motivate people. And I'm like, yeah, fully. So that's what we started doing, man. Just, documenting and sharing professional imagery online. And then it just started catching on a little bit, and it's funny, like once something starts like being positive and people are excited about it and they want to see how they get involved and things start growing, immediately people are like, how are you going to make money through this? And I'm just like, I have no idea. And no one likes hearing that answer,
Right.
I'm just like, man, we're just doing it and we're just, sharing it. And when I started just, when you start listening to people and trying to like please them with like, this is how I'm going to make money at this, I started realizing I started losing the passion for it. So, I just got to a point. I was like, look, I am going to just trust that God asked me where my food comes from, that I've been obedient, that I've just been, doing this for my family, doing it for my friends, doing it for my community, doing it for God, like just, and whatever he wants from it, it'll happen, and once I kind of like release that I've been seeing so many cool things happen with Huntatarian, bro. It's just been incredible. The amount of people that are reaching out, that are excited to, even though we don't have these thousands of followers, we have under 2,000 followers. It's awesome. I love it. And it's like all these people that are following us are just passionate about the outdoors. They're passionate about the animals they pursue. They want to learn more about ways to cook things properly. They're excited about trying it the first time. I get so many people coming up to me going, man, I always wanted to go hunting. How do I do it? I'm like, come on. I got this guy right now that I'm teaching him how to hunt, and he's coming out with me every day this last week. And he's been helping me, I've been showing him how to find game, how to find sign, how to set things up, how to hunt the wind, what animals to pursue. It's like how to cook things. We've been cooking together. Dude, he's so fulfilled. He's just like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. And he's like, it's so fun, man.
Where can we find more Huntatarian stuff?
Oh, dude, I mean, it's just, how can you not be stoked about Instagram sometimes? It's like, of course, there's a pit in that thing you can get stuck in. Sure. But I mean, like right now, man, I've been getting so much like contact with people through private messaging on Instagram. It's been awesome. And so that's been great. So Instagram's one. We've been, pushing more on the website, stories and how to get involved. We just opened up this last week our first store, so we're starting to sell shirts and stuff, which is fun. So people are starting to wear them around the country, and you see they're tagging us. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, is this happening? It's just dude, it's a blessing, man. And to be able to do it with your friends, your closest buddies, and then also like people like, I mean, 3 years ago, I didn't know Chase and Megan. Right now, we're like best friends. I mean, and I know them through Huntatarian. We talk all the time, and they get so excited. They text me like, how should I cook this? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Let me ask somebody else. And I ask Chris, I'm like, dude, what should they do with this? So, it's just so much fun, man. Everyone's it's like a network, of friends. And that's kind of how I've been titling it recently, is just, we're just a team of friends that passionately love the outdoors and want to share it with people. And I think it's just as simple as that. It's like whether or not it's, I don't know what the full plan of it is. But all I know is that it's our life. It's the truth. It's, what you see is what we're doing. We're in love with it. That's what Huntatarian is right now. I'm excited to answer that question again in 5 years and see what God has planned for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about, I've been watching some of the stuff that you guys do on Instagram, and you guys have definitely been motivating me to really step up my not my culinary game, but definitely okay, where does my meat come from? And I've been, preaching that for a long time. It's just that it's kind of like one of those things where how it's making that jump, like going full in, or at least going half in.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, man. I don't feel that only eating wild game only makes you a Huntatarian. I don't believe that. That's what God's put on my heart to do to get this started. But I don't feel like that's the answer. It's just what I'm doing.
Right.
I feel like the answer is just asking yourself that same question. It's like, where does this come from? And when you think about that, you're like, wow. Like the coolest answer for that for me is, where else in the things that we eat, even like lettuce and tomatoes, like where else in the world can you get something yourself from the outdoors, take it yourself and butcher it yourself, and then take it and cook it yourself for your family?
Right.
See, that's just one set of hands, the entire process. I mean, I couldn't imagine the amount of hands and exchanges that happens for, just poultry or beef,
oh yeah,
or even just vegetables even. I mean, dude, it's incredible. Hunting is an incredible opportunity for people to connect more with their care about what goes into their bodies for the people that they love, and it couldn't be more misunderstood. And I feel like it's like a goal in my life right now to just breathe life into hunting for people to just stop misunderstanding it, stop associating it with murdering, and start associating it with people that care about where their food comes from and they care about the animals they pursue. Because that's the truth.
Well, I always ask this question to pretty much every guest. You only get to go hunting one more time. Where are you going? What are you hunting? What are the weather conditions like? And who's with you? Just kind of paint a picture.
I just kind of had that experience. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of easy for me to answer. Every Thanksgiving, I set a tradition to hunt with my kids. So every Thanksgiving morning, what we do is we get up super early, get the kids bundled up, and I get them out to either a tree stand with me or take them out to a blind. And we have yet. The kids are moving, they're talking, we're having fun, and it's like, man, I love people, man. I love being with my family. I love that so much, and if I had to do it one more time, it'd just be another Thanksgiving morning just with my kids, and probably not shooting anything, but just telling them to whisper and be quiet and just laugh at them when they laugh and they can't do it. It's my favorite. Yeah, man. And I just want to say this, man, if anyone's listening and if they can, just reach out to me on either the website on huntatarian.com or find us on Instagram and private message me at Huntatarian. Just reference this podcast, and I would love to just bless them with, some, shirt and maybe the possibility of coming hog hunting with me out here in Florida. We're always available for more people to come experience it with us.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, AJ, I appreciate it very much, and looking forward to, watching what you guys are going to be doing and, getting a little bit closer with Huntatarian.
Amen, bro. Well, let's do it.
All right, man. I want to give a huge shout out, like we always do during this time, to our partners. So we got Hunt Hickory Creek, which, if you're not familiar with Hunt Hickory Creek, that's Chase and Cody and Scotty and Megan. They're all in the group, and these are a good group of people. I talked to at least one of them, mostly Chase, at least 2 or 3 times a week. Whether it's deer hunting or talking about birds or just, rubbing in the fantasy football smack talk and all that stuff. Anyways, hey, don't put your money in something that you can't first validate or like get to know, or something like that. You can get in there, you can literally see what you're going to be getting out there in the blind with these guys and these guides. So go check them out. Good people, even better people to go hunt with. So we've also got Dive Bomb Industries, and Dive Bomb Industries, they did a lot of good work for us and put a lot of our listeners into some really affordable spreads. And I am just pumped to get out and start targeting some big ducks with my spread that we're all set up with over here, and just really excited to put the 2D ideology to the test. So all right, we've also got Toe Tags LLC. You guys heard Ryan's story, and if you haven't heard Ryan's story, go check it out. Episode 23. But anyways, just go look for the Toe Tags LLC story. Whether or not you want to argue that it is actually a regulation or an enforceable law or anything, I mean, the law is the law, and I'm not going to put myself in a position, at least anymore, to where I can be, whether or not I get a ticket is at the discretion of the, investigating officer or however things are going that day. So just for a couple cents a day, or hunt, I should say, you can be fully taken care of. You already spent all the money on the gas and stuff, so go tag your birds and make sure you're not throwing them in a big old pile, and go ahead and stay legal with Toe Tags LLC. We've also got Gypsum Creek Retrievers. Evan over there in Gypsum with a creek running through the back of his yard is running a awesome little kennel, and I got to go out and I got to go hunt with his flagship dog, and got to see the way that he interacts with that dog, and just the way he talks about his business and his dogs and the dog he's training. Like it's really humbling to see a guy who's like so ate up with it and is just in it, and he's just doing it out of passion, and decided to make his passion something that can put dinner on the table. It's a heck of a deal. We've also got Athlon Optics. Athlon Optics, go check these guys out. They have some of the finest shooting scopes on the market, and their binoculars are bang up. Literally, they are the same quality as something that you'd pay 2 or 3 times the price of, and they're just a solid feeling binocular, and it's nice. I'm not going to do any direct comparisons out there, but I've held a lot of binoculars in my time, and I'm very satisfied with these ones. So go check them out at Athlon Optics. I've got the Midas 10x42, and it is suiting my needs perfectly out here in Kansas. All right. Next, we've got Freelance Hunt Stats. I've always logged and tracked all the birds that we've harvested and whatnot, but it wasn't until Elliot showed me his Freelance Hunt Stats at freelancehuntstats.com that it's not just a journal anymore. Now it's a database. Now I can go through and I can filter all the stuff that I want to know. Windy days, cloudy days, days I shot all blue-winged teal, like things of that nature, and even by location. And it's super affordable. Just don't buy one Monster this month or one Starbucks coffee, and you've got yourself what you need to keep track. Plus, be super helpful when you go to fill out those HIP permits. So, all right. We've also got Duck Nuts. That's DUKNUTZ. And if you haven't seen the videos or pictures of me utilizing these things yet, I freaking hate dealing with Texas rigs, and I take out a lot of new hunters, and I'm always sitting there untangling stuff or unwrapping keels, and instead with these duck nuts, you just throw them on there, and all you gotta do is literally you just stretch out the line, or you can slide the weight all the way towards the decoy or down, and you just throw these things in a bag. It's awesome. Hey, they even came out with a carrying. It always seems that my wife is always walking in whenever I'm doing the duck nuts commercial, because she's just looking at me because she thinks it's hilarious. But they just came out with a bag, and it's called the nut sack, and it's pretty cool. You can strap your shotgun to it. They've also got hats too, and for my boy Wilson listening out there, Hunter over at Duck Nuts, he made a hat just for you, buddy, and all you other coot shooters out there. So, but yeah, so good stuff. Go check them out. Just a really great product. We've also got the DuckTech mobile app, and the DuckTech mobile app is an app that's designed to help you get better at calling ducks. It's got Barney Califf on there, a 2- or 3-time world duck calling champion, and he does the call, tells you what it's for, why to do it, when to do it, and then you can actually go in and press record yourself, and then you can hear it side by side, so you can see how you want to tweak it up. Pretty cool concept. A lot of times, you're just dealing with like a DVD or some other, like, here's the sounds, now make this sound, and that's not this right here. This is something that you can do on your commute. So, pretty sweet. All right, next we've got Gunner Kennels, and Gunner Kennels. If you have never laid your hands on a Gunner Kennel, probably some of the finest craftsmanship or example of overbuilding something, and that's perfect. That's fine with me. My wife, she loves those things because it keeps the babies safe, the fur babies, and at the end of the day, you're kind of charged with the responsibility of that animal's life. And I wear my seatbelt. I don't text and drive. Why am I gonna just throw my dog in the back of the truck to be in jeopardy if something were to happen? And then newest partner that I'm super excited to get you guys into is HTR Innovations. That's HTR, like Hunter, Innovations. And they've got the coolest little thing. It's a stand that you can put out in the marsh that holds your gun, holds my recording equipment, box of shells, all this other stuff. Check it out on the Instagram page. They've also got an A-frame blind that they come out with that is super simple to set up, just like stupid simple. And then they've got, for you guys that absolutely hate layout blinds, they've got a layout blind insert, and makes that thing just about as comfy as the living room couch. So go check them out. And then last but not least, we've got SRB field rests. So you hiked into this muddy field, set out all your decoys, had your bag ready to go with your gun in it, and then you take your gun out and you just set it in the mud, or you're constantly making sure that you don't fumble this thing around. These two little stakes from SRB Field Rests, stick them there, lay your gun down on them. You didn't come this far to jam your gun up with a little bit of mud because you got excited about some geese in your face. So that was really dramatic. I have a little bit of a stuffy nose, it sounds like, but all right. We just want to let you guys know these companies are the Bees knees. These are cool people, great people. I'm not just throwing them on here so that I can take up your time and, make money or whatever it is. I believe in these products. I believe in these people. And I'm a huge fan of somebody turning their passion into their everyday job so that they can try to escape some sort of 9-to-5 where somebody else is their boss. And I'm a huge fan of that. Trying to do that myself. So, yep. Before, think twice before you buy something, similar to these. And, they help bring you this show. And so if you like this show, you like it to be around, check these people out. So, all right, everybody, safe hunting. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Foul Front Waterfowl Podcast. Please come join us on our Facebook group, the Foul Front Waterfowl Podcast group, where you can connect with a good group of hunters, because we're all in this together. We need to act like it so that hopefully our great grandkids will be hunting ducks over our favorite public lands. We also ask that you go ahead and give us a written review on iTunes and give us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. And we really do want to hear back from you so that we can give you the best possible content. And if you get in on that Facebook group, you can get in there and you can ask questions and you can tell us what you want to hear next, or you can tell us what you don't like. And we'll be sure to tailor things to our listeners. So, all right. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next week.